All right. Well, I didn't show you how to put everything together, but I did it. Pushing the bearing races out and back in. I might have gotten part of that, but my battery died. Um, I did not get putting them back in because I was just too concentrated on those. But they're in. I basically heated the case up to 200 degrees in the oven, basically, and then kind of tapped them in place. They went in pretty easily. I did put I do have the tools for putting those together. I rented them, and I put a sleeve on one side and a tool, and then on the other side and a tool. I put a bolt between them and ratcheted them together, and it pulled together nicely. And these are the old bearings that I took out, and they go right there. You can see I put some grease on that one, and so I replaced those went in easily. I had to get one of these just because it's a new tool, and whenever I do a new job I always pick up a new tool, and this pressed them in nicely. As for the pinion bearing that went on there, I just heated it up to a slightly brown color, as all the other videos say, and it dropped in place using the same spacer washer thing that everybody else has, or that was on there to begin with. As you can see, I've torqued it down. I've got the gasket in place, and I was ready to keep going, but the play seemed about right. I'm actually tried to measure it and couldn't, because if you can see down inside there, it doesn't take much to move it. I was like, that's strange. So then I went and moved it with my finger, and I'm like, there should be preload. Actually, I was hoping there would be preload. These things are threaded and have to be tightened up to 55 foot-pounds on each side. And apparently, and this ring slides down over the top and holds it in place. And apparently that has somehow backed off. I should look at these. These don't look like, doesn't look like it's actually moved. So maybe it wasn't put in right to begin with. Somebody else has been inside here. Whether they pulled these things out or whether they were never put in, who knows. My bearings and races were all exactly the same size, same brand and everything as what was in there before. And the other bearings weren't bad, but since metal was running around in there, they did get chewed up a little bit. So I replaced them all. So my task today, when I lay this down on side, I can slide the, I don't know what the whole pumpkin thing is called, but I slide it back and forth, and there's about an 1/8 inch of play. And this looks like it's not screwed down at all. It's flush, whereas the other side looks like it's screwed down in place, and it's about 1/8 of an inch down. So I'm going to assume, maybe wrongly, that this is the one, this one has backed out or wasn't tightened. So I'm going to tighten that up, bring it up to 55 foot-pounds. But first, I have to figure out how to make that tool, because I'm not going to pay $150 for one and wait 2 weeks for it to get here. Looks fairly simple. I'm just going to take a socket and drop it in the hole there that matches, sits on top of the bearing, and then weld 3 little ears on it so that it will tighten that up. And I'll get part of that shortly. All right, so I went and did my weld job. This little thing here, move it in. No comments on the weld. I got a little wire feed welder. All I needed to do was hold it in place. I sacrificed a Craftsman socket, but technically it would still work as long as I had clearance. And it actually fits. Now I've already put it in and had to use the good old breaker cobalt to break it free. I think somebody also put locking compound in there because it was pretty snug. Even though it wasn't snug, it was floating and not touching the bearing. So did that. Once I broke it free, it moves easy. So we screw it in to there, and that's snug. And now I torque it to 55 foot-pounds and measure how much play I have. If there's too much or too little, I have to do the same thing on the other side and move the gear back and forth to get the play out here. I guess the book is between 3 and 10 thousandths and rotation, and you multiply that by 2 to get what's here, or you take this one and you divide by 2 to get what the book has for the carrier, and or for the carrier. I got it. So I'm going to do that next and see where I'm at. All right, so I torqued this almost to 55. I didn't get the number to click, but I went most of the way. Hardest part is holding the thing still. And now this thing doesn't turn. So I think I have to adjust both sides. All right, loosening up and taking apart the other side. All right, so this side I haven't touched yet. And as you can see, it still has its aluminum locking ring in there. I have this little wrench which does wonders in pushing this thing up, which actually doesn't feel like it takes much effort to get it up.
Put a little depressed fingers.
I'm on video, and you are now too. So that's how I'm going to go around and slowly push it up. My daughter just came in and wanted to show me something about my cat wanting to get into the house or into a bedroom where he feels like he needs to be. So I'm just going to go around, pry this up with my little wrench. Doesn't take much force, as you can see, but it's going to come out any second. And at this point, I will, I better film the whole thing, otherwise someone will say you cheated. I'm going to basically just wedge something underneath there and pull it up. There we go. It has teeth, which lock it into those teeth. And then there's teeth on the inside, which lock it into the back of that. So this is probably just as snug as the last one. So I'm going to have to work with this. I'll get back with you. All right, so here's my setup. Got the gauge set up on it. Right now it's set at 10, but I measure it back and forth, and it goes between -5 and 20, which is way too much. -5 and 25, so that's 20. I need it to be between 10 and 15 right in there. So I haven't torqued it. I've loosened this side, or actually tightened this side a little bit. Now I'm going to go back and try and torque this one to 55. All right, so I think I got it. I would loosen this side up, maybe just that much. 10 degrees, 20 degrees, and then torque this side to 55. Loosen this one up, 20 degrees, torque this one to 55. Each time checking my little gauge. And I believe what I got here now is between, you're back to 0, there and there. All things equal, everything's moving. But I believe I'm at maybe 10. Oh, that's off the sea. Off? No. So that's got to go around 1. Get a good grade. That's all the way on one side, and then back it off. And I get 8. So there we go. If I go between them and don't move anything, I'm getting about 10, which is technically 5. You divide it by 2. All right, another video here. And so I tested that, and then I rotated it, and now there's no play. So I'm going to actually have to have more play, as it rotates, but it gets really tight and then loosens up. So something's a little off. Oh, no, it does it no matter what. Maybe just playing with it messed it up. So now loosen up a little bit more. All right, so I got it torqued and adjusted. Measuring this play goes from the minimum to the maximum. So I'm in tolerance all the way around. Spinning it feels good. No problems, no hanging up. Here a little bit of grinding, probably because of the glue or the goop I put in there. But it's all good. Torque is good. 55 foot-pounds on both sides. The case is all glued together. I'm not going to run a pattern because when it was opened, you could see where it was all fitting, and it was right to the wear marks that were there before, so everything was good on that part. So all together.